Hello, this is Diane Dalton. We're continuing in Chapter 2. We're going to start looking at functions. You'll see the word aggregate. Let's go over what does that mean. From the dictionary, it means a collection of particulars, a sum, the total combined, total or gross amount. Anyway, it means taking the data and looking at it as a collection or a combination. So instead of just looking at individual records, we're going to start looking at multiple records as a group. So we're going to go on. Example number 8 from the textbook. How many customers does sales rep number 35 represent? So the clue here is the question how many means we're going to count something. So we're going to use the count function. Let's go to SQL Server. All right, so we're going to continue using our Premier database. So we're going to start a new query. We're going to do it in our editor. So the table that we need is our customer table. Add. That's the only table we need. I'm going to enlarge that. So we want to count. Well, what are we counting? We could count how many customer numbers we have or how many customer names. When you're counting, it doesn't really matter what you're counting. You're really counting the records. So we're just going to use customer name to count. But we do have to select a criterion. So we want to look at rep number. And the rep number is number 35. So we're going to put in a filter for rep number 35. Alright, so right now that would just list everybody. So how do we get a count? Now this is different than it works in Access. In Access there's a row that you have to add. We need to add a separate column. The way to do that is to go into this space in the Query Designer, right click, and click the Add Group By. So what we need to do is have this Group By option here. So what do we want to group by? We're going to group by rep numbers, and what we're going to do then, after we've grouped them, is we're going to count how many customers we have. Right, so that's what our query is going to be. We're going to say OK, and now we'll execute our query, and the answer is, for rep number 35, we have 4 customers. Now, we didn't change this to give it a name, so it defaulted to expression. You can see it up here. We counted the customer name. So that count is given a name or a label called expression 1 or expr1. If we had wanted to put a name in there, going back to the editor, that shows up here. So we could have changed this and call it count or customer count. Let's say OK. We'll execute again. And now we have a count, customer count by rep number. Alright, so that was example number 8. Going forward, number 9. Now we're going to say what is the average balance of all customers of sales rep number 35. Okay, so obviously the function we want to use here is the average function. We'll start a new query. Go to the design editor. Again, the customer table. We could have started from the last one, would have been just as easy. Alright, this time we are looking at the balance. So we don't want to use customer name, do we? We want to average the balance. And we're looking again at the rep, number 35. So we'll put in our rep 35 criteria. And again, we have to get that group by. So we're going to go up here and right click, do the add group by. So we get our group by. We're grouping by rep number. So that's the group we're taking. The aggregate is by rep number, 35. And the function, we're going to change this one. We're going to change this to the average function, AVG. Now again, I didn't give it a specific name to save, so it's coming out by default expression 1. And there's our average. Now we're going to list things. This is about sorting. List the customer number, the name, balance, and rep number for each customer. And once we do that, we're going to sort the output alphabetically. Alright, so let's go do a new query. Go in our editor, customer name, customer table I mean. So the number, the name, the balance, and the rep number. But now we want to sort them. And sorting is done a little bit differently in SQL Server than it is in Access. So look closely. We have sort type and sort order. So we're going to sort based on customer name. So that's how we want to sort. What are our choices? We're going to go ascending. So that's alphabetical from A to Z. Now we're not filtering anything. We're going to do this for all customers. All right, so that's all we need to do. But once I click out of there, I get this sort order, and I get it number 1 because we can sort on multiple things. So this time we're only sorting on 1, so we only see the sort order of 1. We'll see that more later in the next example. So we'll execute that query, and let's look closely at our output. We have it ordered by customer name, A up through T. Right, so that's just alphabetical by this list. Right, so now we're going to do it again because example number 12 is to do the same thing, but this time we're going to sort the output by sales rep number, and within that then we're going to sort by customer name. So back to this query. We're going to just take this query and edit it. So let's go back to our editor. Remember, I selected it first and then edit. Alright, so we're outputting the exact same things, but this time we want to sort. I'm going to give some space here. We want to sort by rep number first. So we're going to click in here and sort ascending. And look at that, it came up and said, that's going to be sort order 2. But in reality, we want to make that the first sort, and then this will be our second sort. So what that does is says we're going to sort first by rep number, and then within the rep number we'll sort by customer name. So let's see how our output looks a little bit different this time. Go execute, and now you can see we've sorted by rep number. So we got all of them 20, 20, 20, 35, 35, 35, 35, and then for 65. And within each of these, so you can see those 3 are alphabetical. Then we start over alphabetical again for the ones for this rep, and then again in alphabetical order. We'll continue on with example 13. We're going to list each customer's number and name along with the number, last name, and first name of each customer's sales rep. We're going to be using multiple tables, so this time we have to use the join command. We're going to be joining tables. So back to SQL Server, start another query, go into the editor, and we're going to use our customer table. But if you look in here, we don't have the rep's last names and first name, so we have to use our rep table as well. So we just add the second table, and because there's already a relationship established between these two tables, and that this rep number for customer refers to somebody out of this rep table. So what we're looking for is customer number, customer name, along with the rep number, and we could click it here, check it here, or check it here. It's going to be the same number, last name and first name for each of the reps. Okay, now we're doing this for every customer, so we're not putting in any criteria, no filter here. Say OK, and this time we get, instead of just a rep number, we see their full name. Okay, so that's how you can get more complete information. So let's go on. Okay, we're going to continue with example 14. This is very similar. It's for each customer whose credit limit is $10,000. List the customer's number and name along with the number, last name, and first name of the corresponding sales rep. So that's very similar to what we just did here, except that we are looking at adding a criteria. So I'm going to select this query and work from that. So I'm going to edit that in my editor. So what I want to do this time is add one more field, the credit limit. Okay, so it's added to the columns, and I want to put the limit, the criteria, $10,000. Alright, so that's our criteria. We added it as a filter, but I don't really need to output the credit limit, so I'm going to uncheck it here. Okay, see, this is the output column, so I don't want it to appear in my results, but I still want it to use it as the limit, the criteria. So I say OK, execute, and there we are. We have the 3 customers who do have a credit limit of $10,000. Going on with example 15, this one we're going to look at all of the tables. So we're joining not just 2 tables, but we're going to join 4 tables. So for each order, we're going to list the order number, order date, customer number, and customer name. In addition, for each order line within the order, we're going to list the part number, description, number of units ordered, and quoted price. So we're going to start a new query for this in our editor. We're going to use our customer table. We're going to use the orders table. We're going to use the order line table and the part table. Alright, so this looks a little bit more complicated here. You can see that these are related. So our customer number is referred to in the order table. The order number is referred to in the order line, and the part number is referred to in the part table. So what are we going to output again? We want the order number, order date, customer number, and the customer's name. So the only place to get the customer's name is from this table. In addition, for each order line, we're going to want the part number, the description. Oh, that's the part number, but we need to get the description from here, the number of units ordered, and the quoted price. I believe that was all that was requested. And it says for all of them, for each order, so we're not putting any criteria. Say OK. Alright, so let's look at what this query looks like. We've got an inner join, so we're joining several tables here. Execute, and there we have, where's that? The full list. Okay, so you can see the price, the number ordered. This is each order, and you can see some of these have multiple order lines. So the next query is an update example. Right, so we're going to look at our customer database, and as it turns out, we found out there was an error. So it's for everybody in the city of Fillmore, the zip code is incorrect. It should be 33363. So we're going to use an update command to make that change. Do a new query, put our table in. Customer zip code is in the customer table. And we're going to look here. So what we want to do is we're going to do an update. So for one thing, we're going to change the type of query this is. Instead of having a select query, I did a right click here. We're going to change type to an update query type. Okay, so far we've been selecting. That means just reading data. This time we're going to actually write something into our database. So we're doing an update. And what are we going to do? We're going to update our zip code. But we have to set a criteria. We're the city. Alright, so our table headings have changed a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a set. So we're going to set the zip code to a new value, 33363. Now we're not going to set the city. We're not changing the city, but we do need to filter and only change the setting for the zip code where the city is equal to Fillmore. Alright, so let's look again. We're going to set the field called zip. We're going to set it to a new value where the city is equal to Fillmore. Alright, so we'll go execute that. And it does say that we had 2 rows were affected. And you would have had to look at this table before, but let's go ahead and look at our rows here. So here's the city of Fillmore, and it now says the zip is 33363, and there's one more, 33363. Now, if you're not careful and you don't put that criteria on for where you want to make the update, we could have changed all of the zip codes to 33363. So when you're making changes into the database, you have to be very careful to use your criteria and write your criteria carefully. Our next example is another case where that could be disastrous if you don't use your criteria. It's a delete command. delete all order lines in which the order number is 21610. Right, so let's see what happens. New query, go to our design editor, in the order line table. What we're going to do is change this type of query again from the default, which is a select, to a delete. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to filter on one particular column. We're going to filter where the order number, so I have to find it here, order number is 21610. Right, so that's what we're going to delete. We're going to filter based on the order number and we'll delete. Now if you don't put a criteria, it will delete every record. Alright, so we got rid of 2 rows. And you would have to go back and look at your textbook and you can see how it differs now. That the 2 rows that had 21610 are gone from our database table. That concludes this video.